in the old school, the old traditional school, you would not learn any martial art for the first 6 months. The only thing you would learn is this posture, how to sit in the stance until they'll get comfortable and make it your friend. What's the first opponent that you'll ever face in combat? The first opponent you'll ever face in combat is yourself. So you have to be able to learn to defeat yourself, overcome all the discomfort, right? Build your concentration, focus, and power. You do that from here, right? So the legs get strong, right? The bones and tendons become strong and powerful, right? That's how you develop in Kung Fu. That's the old way. That's the old method. I like it. Right? There's no shortcut. So in the last video, in the Shaolin from A to Z series, we discussed the construction of a correct fist, sun fist, ram's head, Chinese fist, and how to properly deliver the weapon, how to execute the technique in the most efficient manner. In this video, we're going to discuss the different types of power. Your method of delivery has to be supported by a strong root, strong foundation. You have to be properly grounded for you to generate power. Power don't just magically appear. So we had earlier touched on the stances. Stances are your foundation. This is the Mabu stance, right? This is your horse riding posture. What's good about this? What's good about this stance is that it balances you, it develops you simultaneously on both sides. You know, if you go to do kicks, you tend to be right side or left side. What this one does, what this posture does is it's very great for balancing both hemispheres of the body so that you can even off your energy. There are 3 different ways of generating force, all right? You can sink to get power, you can rise to get power, you can turn to get power, turning and twisting to get power. The main one, however, is sinking and grounding yourself to generate force. The way to do that is to develop a good stable stance, a good stable foundation. The technique that we use for that is called the Mabu stance, or the horse riding posture. It's some system like in the Kupigana African style is called the pyramid stance. Okay? So in order for you to get into this stance properly, the correct way, you need to have your feet at least 2 shoulder width apart. Right? It's based on your body dynamics. 2 shoulder width apart is good for this. Alright? So you step out with the feet pointing straight ahead, and you sit like you're sitting on a chair. Very important. Now in Kung Fu, our stances are very low, because what this facilitates in doing is fostering a low center of gravity. So remember, we had discussed earlier that in order for you to generate power, power has to come from somewhere. So we discussed earlier that the force starts in the legs, guided by the waist, and generates through the hands. Also, the type of strikes that we were discussing, the delivery system, the trajectory of the weapon, we discussed that. But also how the legs come into play to get force, right? To generate force. You have to generate it from the ground up through the legs, through the waist, and express through the hands. So this posture is very good for that, because what it does, it conditions the legs. It brings the whole body into play, but it also grounds you and lower your center of gravity. This is not a high riding stance. This is a very low riding stance. This will build the low center of gravity. Also, it will facilitate in strengthening the tendons, get good focus, concentration. It builds your discipline, it strengthens your mind. If you do this, you'll notice that your whole constitution changes. You know, you're just your ability to focus and concentrate. When we do this, to challenge yourself, you sit and extend the hands out and try to build time. Kung Fu equals time, right? So if you can sit in this posture for 5 minutes, right? And gradually build from there. You'll notice how your whole body begin to change. This is the best way of getting in shape. So this is a static posture. You know, once you get past 5, say 10 minutes, you know, 15 minutes, you'll notice how strong the legs get. This type of strength comes from inside, so you never lose it. Notice my back. The back is straight, hands extended, right? Shoulders goes out, not back but out. You're training that delivery system, all right, to deliver the weapon. That system has to be supported. You see? And the stance is a support. Target, weapon, method, delivery. So let's discuss the 3 different types of power. 3 basic, fundamental way of generating force. Right? In order for you to get power, you have to, the first way is to sink. You have to get your center of gravity root down, sink your energy into the ground. In other words, you have to be grounded. You have to have something to support you. You have to be able to push off something. Right? You're sinking to get power. You sink your energy into the ground. You know, when you sit in this posture, what's the first thing start happening? You notice that gravity start pushing back at you, like you start to have a reverse gravity effect. Well, the body is not strong enough yet. As you develop your strength, you'll notice that you're able to sustain it longer. So what you start having, why you have to at time is because you hit a barrier. The barrier might be a minute. As you increase in it gradually, all right, you'll be able to sustain it, all right? So you sink to get power. The second is rising to get power. Sinking to get power, rising to get power. And that's how we train. Those are the 2 first ones. So you start working the stance. You start learning how to sit, what it feels like to rise. Do this 100 times, and you start to really get the feel. That's what's supposed to take place with your body. How the legs come into play. So now you start seeing how the force generate from the ground, right? Up to the body, up to the spine. We discussed that reverse punch earlier. We don't have time to do 100 here. But this is something you can do to challenge yourself. The next one is turn to get power. 1, 2, 4. Those are the 3 basic ways to generate power. And as you can see, those come from your stance. That's a very good drill to build coordination, balance, and strength. So any combat system, any technique, fighting technique, any combat encounter, you're gonna end up with collision, grappling, get taken to the ground. So we discussed how the foundation is very important, the stance. How to sink to get power, to rise to get power. So the person should grab, just as an example, the hand comes up to neutralize the first grip, sink to get power, or the strike goes up underneath the chin. That's rising to get power. So you get stability from the posture, right? Sink to get power, and turn to get power. So you see the 3 techniques, even though they're drill, fighting drills, conditioning, right? You can see how the functionality comes into play they can be very effective once you develop stability. Part of the time when you get grabbed and you're not stable, so the nerve shuts down in you. But if you practice the posture, now I can sink to get power. I can rise to get power. I can turn to get power. All right? And you can see here again, the follow through strike. Rise to get power. All right? He's still holding on, no problem. Sink to get power. To take note that as you sit in this posture, you notice that there is going to be some subtle changes, energy changes taking place between your body and the ground. As fatigue sets in, you'll notice how the earth or the ground start pushing back at you. Right? That's where the discipline and the focus comes in. See? You just have to sit there, don't fight it. Right? Gravity, reverse gravitational pull on the body makes you feel like you want to come up. That's when you force yourself and sit there to develop the focus, concentration. And that's real power. And that's why the martial art is considered a science, a training, because we use the body to condition the body. It's also very good for rebalancing your mind. You know? With all the craziness going on out here, sometimes you just need to regain not just physical balance, but mental balance. You gain central equilibrium from sitting like this and building strength, but you also gain a mental equilibrium. And don't forget that. That's why I love the classical art, because it leads you somewhere. You see, it leads you to greater understanding of the self. So I hope you enjoy this session. Find a school if you don't have a school. Find an instructor. Find someone competent to teach you. If you don't have, if you're not around, I'm a classical Kung Fu stylist here, Northern Shaolin. But if there's no Kung Fu school around you, find a karate school, find a taekwondo school. It doesn't really matter. The foundations are all the same. Today, we just talk about the different type of power, right? We talk about rising to get power, sinking to get power, turning to get power. Learning how to generate force from different levels while moving and turning in a static position. So when you go to issue power, all right, the muscles will be tuned to deliver the force that is necessary. Right? Don't forget to subscribe.